Watch this.
This bill does not send one dime to a private school. This bill sends money to families.
It's Friday. You know what that means? Time to end the week here on the 208 and beyond. And yes, it is Friday with the snow day, so of course the perfect day to have an almost 3-hour debate over school choice in the great indoors, which is exactly what the Idaho House did. After all of that, passing the idea. You know what else passed on to the next level? 3 pieces of legislation that will make voter initiatives harder to pass. Plus, we're taking you beyond the 208 and before 2025 to highlight one man who made history in Spokane as the first and so far only black mayor. One of the longest legislative debates that we've seen in recent years ended with the Idaho House approving the Idaho Parental Choice Tax Credit. Nearly 3 hours of debate that featured more than 20 lawmakers standing to debate. All said and done, 42-28 is the final tally that successfully advanced the legislation to the Idaho Senate. Certainly some intrigue to if the school choice funding bill will go the distance. Plenty of hurdles to still clear, but a major win for supporters, including bill sponsor Representative Wendy Horman. But still, major questions hang for the Senate to ponder, and those points were made in debate. Some lawmakers criticizing the legislation, others endorsing.
A well-designed program would include a robust oversight and clear reporting and proper funding for enforcement, of which none of this bill provides.
Is it a school choice bill? Absolutely. Is it a start in the right direction? Yes, it is. So if you campaigned on school choice, if you answered questionnaires saying, I support school choice, I would urge you to give this bill your green light.
This bill has a lack of oversight. I think we need to be very careful that we stop triple dipping and we make sure that there are appropriate guardrails in this bill to make sure that the taxpayers are protected.
My feeling is this bill really serves to be as wealth redistribution. I also get a lot of comments from seniors that they're really tired of paying to educate someone else's kids.
We are asking to spend a very small amount of money, 0.02% of the amount of money that we have allocated to the education system to try something different, to see if perhaps we can turn out a better educated student population.
Obviously, we like surveys. Surveys can say that the parents like the teacher, the parents like the structure, and that's great because that's what we want. We want the parents to be happy, but this is not giving us the accountability piece that we need to determine how are these children learning on a broader basis.
I spoke with Representative Wendy Horman right after the vote, and she responded to some major questions brought up in debate. And accountability-wise, she feels that the threat of a felony for fraud, defrauding this program, that's a key accountability part. It's a major problem that some people are questioning, but we don't know so far how it'll work out because the program hasn't been created.
Some people have claimed there's no accountability in this bill. I think that's a very strong piece of accountability, that you're literally could be subject to felony charges and jail time and fines if you break the law. You had people debating who have been here 19 years, 17 years, and they said there's never been a perfect bill. But this is very close. And the reason it is close is because it does help especially children of low resources to be successful if maybe the public school isn't working for them. If they think that I have put my heart and soul into this for outside lobbying groups, they're wrong. I do believe this should meet the accountability thresholds for our governor. Not to mention, parents are the best person to make the choice for where their child goes to school.
So as the legislation does head to the Senate, there will be competition with other school choice legislation.
If we let vouchers win, shame on us.
Just after the floor debate today at the Capitol, a group against school choice held a press conference. Aspen Shumpert was there in the room. Aspen, what was the reaction? What was the group there? Was this a bipartisan effort? Was this just the Democrats?
Yeah, it was a bipartisan effort, and again, moments after that vote. So people weren't too happy with this group. Again, emotions were rised high as they found out what happened. This group includes lawmakers, but also public educators and taxpayers concerned about their public dollars going towards religious and private school tuition. Tabitha Miller, who is a public school teacher in rural Idaho, where they don't have options for kids to attend private schools, says she's worried that if a school choice bill is passed into law, it would only benefit certain Idaho families.
I can't imagine my friends and neighbors from there being asked to foot the bill for my wealthy neighbors in East Boise to be able to continue to send their students to schools that they already do. I have nieces and nephews in Garden Valley schools and in the Filer School District, and I know that my family needs to have their schools fully funded, and that should be the priority of our legislature.
She says it's disheartening to see the priority continuously not be on spending for Idaho's underfunded public education. Now, former Republican Representative Julie Yamamoto was also one in attendance at today's news conference. She says she was pushed out of her position for the way she voted against school choice bills in previous years. She says she's as conservative as anyone needs to be, but that Idaho needs to stop starving public schools.
There comes a place when the facilities will not allow for that to be the case. And we saw example after example of failing infrastructure of people, and that they don't have the tax base to raise to pass a bond if they wanted to, or a levy. And so, you know, this idea that that we're not happy with the system that we have and it's not meeting everyone's needs. So now we're going to develop a whole new system and fund it financially. I just have to wonder how anyone can look at that and think that that in any way makes fiscal sense.
She says for years public schools have done more with less, and now the reward for that seems to be keep doing even more with less. Now, Joe, we know Horman's bill is on to the Senate next. This group is urging people to get out and talk to their senators if this is not how they want public dollars to be used.
Okay, we will jump right back in next week. Thank you so much, Aspen. School choice, big topic. Hey, also at the State House, 3 pieces of legislation that would basically make it harder for voters to get initiatives passed. Senate Joint Resolution 101 is a constitutional amendment changing the signature gathering stage of a voter initiative. It doesn't change the number of signatures needed to get an initiative on the ballot, but it would require at least 6% of legal registered voters in every district, all 35 districts, sign the initiative instead of 6% of 18 of 35.
I would say we have a problem, and the problem is that we're going to continue to see big money special interests who don't live here attempt to change the laws for us.
This is in no way a topic that deserves any conversation. If citizens speak and those who purport to represent them don't like what they say, voters are silenced.
There was 2 hours of debate, mainly against the resolution, but despite that, it passed 5-3 and now heads to the full Senate, where it needs a 2/3 approval to make it over to the House. But voters will get a chance to have their voices heard again if this does end up making it through the State House and onto the ballot. And because debate was so long for Senate Joint Resolution 101, Senate Bill 1047 was pushed till Monday. But basically, the bill requires an updated fiscal impact statement for ballot measures after they've gotten enough signatures. We'll see where that goes next week, but a big change to the process. Over to the House State Affairs Committee this morning, House Bill 85 got a hearing, and that bill lets the governor veto successful voter ballot initiatives if they aren't approved by at least 2/3 of the voting majority. A lot of similar faces for testimony with a different end than the Senate committee.
Motion fails on a tie vote 7-7. Committee, that will complete our work for today. We'll stand adjourned.
So there you go. A busy Friday at the Capitol, as you saw, which means we did not have time for the legislative wrap this week, but we're going to look back at all the legislation that we had this week, and you can do so too at ktvb.com and YouTube. We're not the only show that likes to take you back in time to show you the rich history of our state. So does our Washington neighbors up north. Today on Beyond the 208, we'll introduce you to Spokane, Washington's first and so far only black mayor, and then bring it back home to tell you more about Boise's first black city council member. What other history are you interested in? Text us your story ideas to 208-321-5614, or text us any questions, comments, concerns, really anything about the 208 or I guess beyond. Don't forget to include your name and hashtag the 208. We're going to get to some of these live at the end of the show. February is Black History Month, so as we head beyond the 208, we're taking you up north to Spokane, Washington, where our sister station's photojournalist Nathan Brand dug into the archives to take us back in time to 1981, the year Spokane's first and only black mayor was elected. Here's a story of Mayor James E. Chase.
Right here in the basement of Crim 2, there's a story that hasn't been seen in over 40 years. The tape it lives on is outdated. We don't even have the equipment to bring it to life. But we found someone out in Suncrest who could restore what was lost.
Okay, so that's our test tape.
After a long career in video production, Dan Mortimer closed his studio and moved the equipment into his basement.
So when I moved out here, I had to just decide what to keep and what not to keep. So I decided to keep broadcast stuff, 3/4, 1 inch, stuff like that. So.
Yes, one message is Spokane is a great city, something I've said all the time.
Thanks to Dan, we have video. Damn. It's kind of messed up, but it'll do.
There's some color.
171,000 people live in this city, but only 1.6% make up the black population. Yet, on election day, Jim Chase was elected the city's first black mayor. The victory was even a surprise to Chase.
I didn't think I would get 62% of the votes.
This is the story of Spokane's first and only black mayor. He came to Spokane in a boxcar, started out as a shoe shiner, and ended up in the city's highest office.
He never had a high school diploma. He learned because he was a ferocious reader, and that's where he got his knowledge from.
James Everett Chase.
It was just historical, and we welcomed that.
A man who broke barriers as the first black city councilman in 1975, and as an overwhelmingly popular mayor at a time when the Aryan Nation headquarters was just 30 minutes away in North Idaho.
My memories of him is as a young person, another bigger-than-life person in Spokane in the black community.
Maybe it was his tall stature, his magnetic personality, or the fact he married Eleanor Barrow, a renowned civic leader whose father founded Spokane's first black church. Whatever it was, people seemed to gravitate towards Jim Chase.
He was just well known. When he walked into a room, everybody applauded or clapped or talked to him. He just had such a pleasant demeanor.
If ever there were a champion of youth in the Spokane community, it was Jim Chase. With an infectious, happy-go-lucky spirit, Mayor Chase was a strong advocate for children, whether it was lobbying for free swimming in public schools or establishing a youth department for the city of Spokane.
The Youth Commission, one of Chase's crowning achievements, came at the end of his term when his health was failing.
And when he finally was in the hospital, they hooked up the wire for the channel so that he could speak from his hospital bed, and he really gave his heart out to the council.
And a year from now, we will see a big difference in the youth.
And they voted it in.
People didn't know how ill Jim Chase was, so he didn't really get to see a lot of the fruits of his labor.
And I went down to the hospital to see Mayor Chase, and he had just passed. And Eleanor was right beside him, standing there at the bed, and she was talking to him. And it was the most beautiful words I have ever heard about her love for him, what he meant to her.
In 1987, less than a year and a half after he left office, Jim Chase lost his battle with cancer.
I heard the outpouring at his funeral was overwhelming.
Over 1,200 people attended the ceremony. But as the decades passed and new residents moved in, Chase faded into the background of history.
The people that knew him, they're gone too. A lot of them are gone.
How history is remembering him with all these named institutions, what I think is the most valuable is the legacy he has left in people.
You were the first Black city councilman. You are the first Black mayor. Is there a message behind this?
Yes, one message is Spokane is a great city, something I've said all the time.
Back here in Boise, one man made history of his own. Jerome Mapp was the city's first Black council member. Mapp served 3 terms from 1993 to 2005. He also had a brief stint as acting mayor in 2004, also technically making him Boise's first Black mayor. But he wasn't elected into the position like city council. 21 years ago, former KTVB reporter Allison Uten helps us get to know Jerome Mapp and his love for music.
I could put a CD here and a CD here, and then I record it on a cassette if I choose to do it and mix them. I mean, this is really my therapy.
At the age of 9, Jerome Mapp started collecting music. His first album was by The Temptations, but it sure didn't stop there. Nearly half a century later, he owns more than 5,000 albums.
I have gospel, I have country, I have rock, I have R&B, I have jazz.
And whether he admits it or not, he also has disco. In addition to his 30-year career as a city planner, Mapp moonlighted as a DJ, starting in 1973 in Pocatello.
I would say something to the effect that this is KWIK 1240 in Pocatello. This is Jerome Mapp, the music master, the master blaster.
The Master Blaster will celebrate his 30th wedding anniversary this year and is the proud father of 3 sons. The halls of his Boise home are lined with family photos and athletic awards.
My son Andrew got most improved player this last year at Boise High playing football, so we're proud of that.
Mapp is also proud of his own accomplishments, most recently the fact he was unanimously appointed Boise's first African-American council president.
Of course, it always puts a little more pressure on you because you may be the first one, but more importantly, what it does is it helps open doors for other people in the future.
But right now, Mapp has to focus on the present as he tries to lead the city council through some rough waters. He knows his music therapy will be much needed during the more stressful days, but he says finding the time will be a challenge.
During his 13 years of service, Jerome Mapp championed public transportation, parks expansion, and made Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday a city holiday. Back on Tuesday, Mapp was honored by the city of Boise for making history, and photojournalist John Mark Crum was there for Mapp's moments of recognition.
Thank you for the cookies.
Oh my goodness.
It's always surprising when a group comes and cheers a politician.
You look very spiffy.
Oh, thank you.
So, welcome. The most special business of the evening is to recognize former council member Jerome Mapp.
They are paying tribute to Jerome Mapp for his 13 years of service on the Boise City Council.
The first council meeting of Black History Month, but most importantly, to mark the impact of our first African American council member.
And people recognize, that you did the best that you could.
And I served with Jerome for several of those years and think very highly of him, and obviously a whole lot of other people do too.
It's not very often that you get a chance to celebrate your heroes.
I appreciate the love from the community.
So good to see you.
You're good.
You're an awesome man.
Yeah.
Appreciate your friendship, mentorship.
You're a good man. Love you, man.
Don't try to change Boise. Let Boise change you.
Here's a live look around the region. Boise sitting at 35 right now. Not too cold, kind of cozy. Few clouds in the mix. Twin Falls, 34. Sun Valley, also 34. 25 in McCall. Here are 3 things you need to know today. So that precipitation we experienced all through the night last night and this morning, we're seeing that starting to taper off throughout the region. We're also continuing to see gusty winds in the picture, up to 25 miles an hour through the afternoon. The wind advisory has been extended through 7 p.m. tonight. Is there a chance of snow tonight? Well, let's check out the futurecast. So we sped this up to tonight at about 9 o'clock. You can start to see some precipitation flirting with Nampa moving into the picture. Now, will it come for sure? We can't say that for sure, but we do know if we do get anything, the flurries should be dry and it shouldn't amount to even ½ an inch of snow. Now, we do see clear skies mostly through Saturday morning, and here's a look at high temps throughout the region tomorrow. Boise reaching a high of 33, 35 in Mountain Home, 22 in McCall, 33 in Stanley, both getting snow throughout the day tomorrow. 34 down in Twin Falls. And here's a look at your 7-day forecast. So tomorrow you'll see for Saturday morning, we're going to have some patchy fog roll through the area in the morning. It should taper off by lunch, and we're looking forward to mostly sunny skies and a nice light breeze with winds up to 10 to 15 miles an hour. Sunday, partly sunny skies with a high of 34. And you'll notice for Saturday and Sunday, we reach lows in the teens for the first time in a while.
What a day. Let's end it with some comments here. We'll start with this one. School vouchers are wrong. If someone wants to send their kid to private school, then pay for it yourself. Been there, done that. Fair point. I guess the response to that is folks that say, well, I shouldn't be limited because I can't afford it. This person, Michelle in Boise, says, Joe, you described the group who spoke against the school vouchers as against school choice. Please correctly describe as against tax funds for private school choice. Not sure if Aspen or I misspoke, but yes, if these folks that are against the funding mechanism doesn't mean they're against school choice funding. Good catch. This person says, I don't have kids, but I'm happy to pay taxes for quality public education. I do not want my taxes paying for private or religious schools. Hashtag the 208. And this person says, legislature trying to silence the will of the people is literally the opposite of limited government. Sheila, we'll circle back to this next week. More to be done.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.